But first, Wayne, we're talking about sort of keeping the heat in during the winter. Greenhouse gas levels are higher than ever, despite lockdown. What can we do with these fossil fuels then rising? What can we do in the home to make sure we're doing our bit?
So last week, the government launched its new campaign, the Heat Building Strategy, with the aim of reducing UK carbon emissions by 50% in 2035, with the aim to be net zero at 2050. To achieve this, they've realised we need to encourage the 26 million people who have boilers, gas boilers, to swap it to heat pumps. So we want to kind of encourage people to swap to heat pumps, and by doing that, what they're going to do is give out grants. So you can get a £5,000 grant towards one of these new heat pumps. And there's 60,000 of those available. So I'm going to be showing you just some tips to insulate your house. So you can tick, you know, there's a bit of a, to get the grant, there's, like I said, there's only 60,000 of them. And it's going to be oversubscribed.
Is it 90,000?
Sorry, 90,000, I do.
It's a lot of figures.
Yeah, a lot of figures going. There's 90,000 of them, but there's not, you know, there's more people, it's going to be oversubscribed. So you can qualify for it, you need to make sure your house is insulated. The roof, the floor, the walls. So that's what we want to try and explore.
So there's a bit of confusion with it, but of course, if you get 90,000, that will make a huge difference to carbon emissions,
Absolutely.
which is what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But how do the heat pumps actually work?
So there's two kind of heat pumps. There's an air pump and a ground pump. It's a bit like your reverse refrigerator. So it takes the air pump takes air from outside, brings it in, converts it into your heating for your water and for your central heating system. What's great, it still works in low temperatures. If it gets really cold, it's topped up by electricity. But they've worked out that the energy created is 3 times more than the energy used. So it's far better than your fossil fuels and your gas boiler.
Yeah, and we've got the one at home. Yes, we use that to heat our house during the winter time and then cool it during the summertime.
I bet you've decorated yours as well. It doesn't look the best in the garden, does it?
No, we sort of screened it all off and put some nice plants.
Okay.
As long as, you know.
So that's the air pump. There's also a ground pump.
There is a ground pump. And like I say, screening off, it just looks like an air conditioning unit outside your house. But the ground one does the same principle, but it digs down into the ground and takes the heat source from the ground. Retrospectively, retrofitting that is a bit tricky because you've got to dig up your garden. So we think more people are going to go for the air one rather than the ground one.
There's been loads of protests recently about insulating homes, hasn't it? Why is it important to do it?
Absolutely, because if you're spending all this money and the government are giving you these £5,000 grants to get one of these, what's the point if your house is full of drafts? You know, if it's not insulated. So we want to encourage you to, you know, insulate your house properly, but also do a little bit for the environment. If we want to get that target of net zero in 2050, we need to do that.
Exactly. So how do you know if you need to insulate? What are the top tips?
You know when you walk around your house, there's certain rooms in your house that you know are just naturally a bit chilly.
I'm always cold.
Always cold, always feeling it, always feeling it.
Wearing a dressing gown.
Always in a dressing gown. But if you go around your house and maybe just get a candle, offer it up towards the windows. If it starts flickering around, you know that there's some drafts there. One thing that I noticed with my daughter last year, when you get, you know, in a couple of months we'll get that first frost, that first snow, look outside your house. We looked outside our house. There's a row of 10 terrace houses, and 2 of them, the snow had melted on the roof before the rest. And my daughter was like, what's happening there? And what it is, the heat has come up through the house, gone out through the heated the tiles, and it's melted the snow above. So if you go outside your house, and your house is the one where the snow has melted before anybody else, you know...
Put a hat on it!
Put a hat on it, absolutely. Keep it warm on the top. Also look at your walls. Touch the side of your walls. If it naturally feels cold, you know that you need to get some wall insulation in there. Or you can pay somebody, get an energy performance certificate rating. They cost about 50 quid to 100 quid, and they'll come round and tell you how your house is performing. It's worth noting, I was speaking to one of the crew today as well, they did all the insulation, but didn't take pictures of the insulation before it had gone up. And because they didn't have any pictures of proof of it, the efficiency rating wasn't taken into consideration.
That's a great
tip.
tip.
So it's worth, you know, after you've done it, making sure you take some pictures.
You know, so now we know what we need to look out for to make sure the insulation is good or bad at home. How do we go about it if it's not great? What can we do?
Okay, things that you can do today. So your walls, like we say, if they're feeling cold, you lose about 35% of your heat out the side of your house. So one thing you can do is cavity wall insulation. So you've got an exterior brick, you've got your internal walls, and this gap in the middle, you can inject it with insulation. So that's cavity wall insulation. It's worth doing. You get to get a professional to do that. You can clad the outside of your building, so you can put insulation outside, then make it look decorative with cladding. Something that I've done on my inside of my house, one of our master bedroom is quite cold. It's exposed on two sides. It's got 2 radiators, but it still always felt like the coldest room in the house. I replastered it. So you can get plasterboard that has insulation attached to it. So on those 2 walls, I overboarded, had it all replastered and redecorated. And instantly, I've lost about 5 centimetres on the width of the room. But as soon as I walked in, me and my wife was like, this has made such a difference. Literally unplugged the separate electric heater. We don't ever need the electric blanket anymore. Actually, no, we still love it. But do you know what I mean? So you can insulate. So that's walls. And actually, if you do that, you can save yourself 450 quid a year.
That's a big chunk.
It's a big chunk just on your walls. Yeah. For your roof, you lose about 25% goes out of your roof. So you could go to your DIY store now and buy loft insulation. It comes in big rolls. It looks like a big rolled-up quilt. Move your Christmas decorations out the way, roll it out in between the eaves in there, and protects the heat from going up into that loft space. The hottest room in your house is generally that loft space. If you can keep it in the rooms below and not going through the roof and out and melting that snow.
OK.
Me and Alex, the researcher on this, we worked out you could spend 300 quid on your insulation, and that's 27 centimetres worth of Rockwool insulation on the top. And it can save, and that's 300 quid for a semi-detached house, and it can save you 135 quid a year.
Yeah.
So if you do it in 2 years, it's paid for itself.
It's a long-term investment, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Really good. It's about basically controlling the controllables, isn't it? Which you're brilliant at, and I'm sure we'll put you to work on this again.
I'll be back, yeah.
There's so much going on, isn't there, with the energy prices. If we can do a little bit, that's superb. Thank you.
You're welcome.